each other. Notice in this same verse, the word love being used. It says that Esau loved, or Jacob, or Isaac, I'm sorry, all these different names. Isaac loved Esau, and Rebekah loved Jacob. The word love being used here is the Hebrew word ahab, and it's a primitive word that means to have affection for, whether it's sexually or otherwise. It means to be loved like a dear friend. The word is used in a variety of ways, and I'm not implying that there was some kinky thing going on between the parents in a sensual way, but the word does imply having a strong emotional attachment and desiring to be in the person's presence. So what I am suggesting is that each of them, the mother and the father, so much favored one child over the other that the boys themselves were able to tell that there was a difference in how mama treated me and how mama treated the other, or how daddy treated me and how daddy treated the other. Each of them had such a strong desire and affection and attachment towards the one that they loved best, that the one that they didn't love best could tell. Amen. I know that all of our kids are different. I've had 3 that I've raised up in our home. I believe we did a fairly decent job of not creating sibling rivalry between them. They were 4 or 5 years apart, and so maybe that's why we didn't get some of it as much. But I used to have my thing, what I used to do with my girls, where I made all of them feel that they were number one.
That's right.
Amen.
Amen.
I had secret relationship with each one of them that made them think they were daddy's favorite. And they probably didn't figure it out until they were much older that daddy made each one of them feel like they were his favorite child. And I don't see a sibling rivalry between them as they become adults where they don't have a good relationship with each other. So I would think that mom and I did a good job of not instituting that sibling rivalry spirit in them that caused them not to like one another. But Rebekah and Isaac caused it to manifest to the ultimate capacity in their boys. Look at Genesis 25 again, verse 29 through 24, 29 through 34. And it says, once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, quick, let me have some of that red stew. I am famished. That is why he was also called Edom, which means red. Jacob replied, first, sell me your birthright. Look, I'm about to die, Esau said. What good is the birthright to me? But Jacob said, swear to me first. So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. We see here in this passage both of the boys in their most natural element of who they are. Their birth-given disposition. Esau as I've stated, was a big brute of a man. He was the bigger of the twins, and that's probably why he was able to struggle with Jacob in the womb and be the first to be born, because he was bigger. And he was able to push little Jacob out the way and get the first birth and receive the birthright. So he was a big brute of a man, and he generally processed life through his physical bodily desires. That's what his makeup was. That's what his internal person was. Jacob, on the other hand, was the complete opposite, and Jacob was more of a brainiac. And Jacob generally processed life through his scheming and deceptive mindset. He was just a slickster from birth, and he lived up to his name. Now, we could say that Jacob really didn't deceive Esau out of his birthright, that Esau willingly despised it and sold it. However, we can plainly see that Jacob is taking advantage of his brother. He knows his brother is a big beast of a man. He knows his brother loves to eat. He sees his brother been out in the wild, been hunting, didn't find anything. He's sweating, he's tired, he's famished. Man, hurry up, give me some of that good stew that you cooking over there. Sell me your birthright first. Why would he even do something of that nature to his brother, knowing that his brother's weakness is in his belly? So he took advantage of his brother's weakness in a moment that his brother wasn't really thinking, and he stole the brother's birthright for a bowl of soup. Amen. He knew that his brother had a weakness for food. Now look at Genesis 27, verse 1. Genesis chapter 27, verse 1. It says, when Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see, he called for Esau, his older son, and said to him, my son, here I am, he answered. Isaac said, I am now an old man and don't know the day of my death. Now then, get your weapons, your quiver and bow, and go out to the open country to hunt some wild game for me. Prepare me the kind of tasty food I like and bring it to me, so that I may give you my blessing before I die. So we see the love relationship here between Isaac and Esau, and evidently Esau must have been good on the grill. Amen. Because Isaac doesn't say to Esau, go kill the game and then let your brother cook it. Esau wasn't a master chef like Jacob. Jacob was more of an in-house kind of guy, and it said he stayed among the tents. He didn't go out into the wild. He didn't do all the hunting. He was a good cook. He was a good maintainer of the home. And so Esau didn't say to him, go kill the food and then give it to your brother or your mother to cook for me. He told Esau, go get it, kill it, and prepare it just the way I like it. So the boy was obviously good on the grill. Mm-hmm. Amen. He didn't know how to make all the sides, but he knew how to roast the whole. So he tells him to go get it and prepare it for him. And so verse 5 says, now Rebekah was listening to Isaac. Now Rebekah was listening as Isaac spoke to his son Esau. When Esau left for the open country to hunt game and bring it back, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, look, I overheard your father say to your brother Esau, bring me some game and prepare me some tasty food to eat, so that I may give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die. Now, my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, so I can prepare some tasty food for your father, just the way he likes it. Then take it to your father to eat, so that he may give you his blessing before he dies. Now, I caught something here that I had never caught before. As it says, Isaac spoke to his son Esau in verse 6, and says Rebekah spoke to her son Jacob. They didn't include the boys together. It didn't say he spoke to our son Esau and I spoke to our son Jacob. So there was obviously a separating with the parents where the boys were concerned, and it was obvious to the boys as well that one was favored over the other. And then we see in verse 9 that it's Rebekah and not Jacob who comes up with the diabolical scheme to deceive Isaac. Now, it could have been that over the years, Rebekah and Jacob had talked, and Jacob had revealed to his mom that his brother had sold him the birthright. And so, her having that knowledge that he had done that, she saw this as an opportunity to make him stick to what his promise was to his brother. It could also be that she remembered that the Lord had spoken to her before they were ever born. The Lord had prophesied to her and told her that the older would serve the younger. At the time that God said it to her, it probably didn't make sense because it wasn't the tradition. And now she's seen these things playing out in life, and she's going, oh, okay, that's what God meant. But then she decides to help God alone. Amen. She now deceives her husband into the promise of what God had said. And when we read that some weeks back, I said to you that I don't believe that God caused this. I believe God spoke it to her because he is sovereign and he knew what they were going to be doing anyway. Not that God caused her to be deceptive in order to fulfill his plan, because God don't need us to be deceptive in order to fulfill his plan. Amen. But God knew what had already taken place, prophesied it. They didn't know that it was going to take place because the children had not yet even been born. Whatever the reason was, she saw this as an opportunity to make Esau pay for the despising of his birthright. And besides that, Rebekah also had an issue with Esau because he had married foreign women. We see in Genesis 26:34 and 35, I'll read it real quick. He says, when Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, daughter of Beri the Hittite, and also Basmath, daughter of Elon the Hittite. They were a source of grief and a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. So not only did Rebekah not love Isaac or Esau as much as she loved Jacob, but Esau has also done something that has gotten under mama's skin. He done went out and married some heifers. Amen. And mamas can get real ugly when they boys go out and marry somebody that they don't like. Amen. I'm glad my mama like my wife. Amen. They worked at it. For my sake. They worked at it. Thank you, Jesus. So, it is possible that Rebekah had convinced herself that she was protecting the birthright and the blessing from the pagan children that Esau would have eventually had with his wives. So somehow or another, she seems justified in pulling off this elaborate scheme against her husband. Fellas, they've been pulling off schemes on us for a long time. Can I get a witness? They will always be able to outthink us. They will always be able to pull off what they want to pull off. So treat her well, so she don't pour too much over your eyes. Amen. The ladies look like we ain't slick like this, y'all. Y'all slick just like that, cause we be trying to sleep, and y'all be thinking while we sleeping. And you see what she did for him, right? Cooked him a what?
A meal.
Good meal. So, go get it. She didn't even let Jacob cook it. She said, no, bring it to me. I know just what the boy likes. I'm gonna cook it just like he like it. I know every little spice that he like it. But I'm gonna put 2 legs and both feet in this when I cook it for him. He gonna love it. Fellas, when that good meal show up on the table, eat it and enjoy it, but beware. Glory, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. Amen. My wife cooked me a good meal all the time, and after I get through eating it, I don't go to sleep. Now, for the sake of time, let me tell you that Jacob and Rebekah were successful in deceiving Isaac. They pulled off the scheme, and Isaac ended up bestowing the blessing upon Jacob instead of Esau. However, in closing, I want us to take a look at Esau's response. Because the thing is in life, that you might be in control of the scheme that you've developed, of what you try to do to others, but you're never in control of the other person's response. Amen. Sometimes, even as husbands and wives, we'll sit down and we've thought about a conversation that we're going to have with the spouse, and we think, okay, I'm going to say this, and they probably going to say that, and then I'm going to say this, and then if they say that, then, you know, that's what I'm going to really. But you can never predict the other person's response to what you're going to say.
That's right.
And so they could not anticipate what their scheme was going to produce. So let's look at Genesis chapter 27, verse 30. And it says, after Isaac finished blessing him, and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, almost got caught, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He too prepared some tasty food and brought it to his father. Then he said to him, my father, sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing. His father asked him, who are you? I am your son. He answered him. Remember, he old and blind. Okay? So they took real advantage of poor Isaac. His father asked him, who are you? I am your son, he answered, your firstborn, Esau. Isaac trembled violently and said, who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came, and I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed. When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, bless me too, my father. But he said, your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing. Esau said, isn't he rightly named Jacob? He has deceived me these 2 times. He took my birthright, and now he's taken my blessing. I'll jump down to verse 41, chapter 27, verse 41. Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. He said to himself, the days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. When Rebekah was told what her older son Esau had said, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, your brother Esau is consoling himself with the thought of killing you. Now then, my son, do what I say. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides. When your brother is no longer angry with you and forgets what you did to him, I'll send word for you to come back from there. So the duel has escalated the duel. And in large part, it was contributed to bad parenting. Rebekah and Jacob were successful in getting what they wanted. But they had to face what I call the perils of prosperity. They got what they wanted. They were successful in pulling off the scheme. Jacob got the birthright. Jacob got the blessing. But there seems to be a spiritual law in the earth.